she's sleeping.
You can't get it out of it. It's in her purse?
What?
It's in her purse?
I'm not rooting through her fucking purse. And then she wakes up like, why are you going through my purse? And I explain, Bob Morton wants to see your merkin. She's like, he already saw her son.
Oh, God. He wants to see your merkin.
Yeah, I started losing my hair on Ghost Whisperer, and I freaked out because it was just really thin, and I got really scared. And then, I don't know why, it just stopped.
You're lucky. It's the shittiest feeling in the world.
But you got a great head of hair.
Nah, I had a great... 59.
I mean, for a 60-year-old guy, that's a head of hair.
Yeah, I mean, I got enough.
And you grew it out. You get a nice Jew fro going?
Nah, I can't do that anymore.
Really?
Nah. I used to have a big one. I had a great one.
Really?
Oh, I had a great one.
Can you get us a photo of it to put on the website? Not now.
I want to show it to you.
Should we hit pause on the show while you root through your photos on your iPad?
It.
That's great radio, Morty.
It's not on. I had to go online.
This is me in Greece. Look at
All
this
right, forget
it. So how do you wind up doing the show on Letterman? How do you get a job being a segment producer on Letterman?
I met Letterman in 1979, 78.
He was a comic.
He was a comic.
And where did you meet him?
The first time I met him was at the Comedy Store.
Did you sell him a wig?
No, he had hair at the time. It was at the Comedy Store.
Now, why were you there?
Stu Smiley, who is a producer and before that worked as an executive and TV executive, and then was before that
HBO,
he was a manager.
Stu Smiley?
Yeah. He was my roommate in college.
Let me tell you something about that prick. Ruth Ann Secunda, Abrams' artist, was my agent. I was like 22 years old. And she invites me out to Stu Smiley's house. This is the president of HBO. And George Foreman's going to fight Michael Moore on HBO tonight. Remember this?
Yeah.
Okay. We're all on the beach. We're drinking. Everybody's getting high, having a fucking ball. I mean, it's fucking...
Where was this? Where?
His Malibu house, right here.
Yeah.
And we're all like, we've made it. Like, this is showbiz. I'm with my agent in Malibu on the beach, and there's chicks, and everyone's running around in their bikinis, and there's a hot tub in his house. And then we're all just like timing our high and booze just for like ding, 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 ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready. The fucking guy doesn't get HBO. We all fly home. We're all doing 100 on PCH to get home to watch his fight. Because the president of HBO didn't
have HBO. So typical.
He didn't have HBO because he didn't want to spend the $16 a month.
I'm telling you something. That is so typical. This
of
guy.
Jewish people? Or?
No, of him.
Oh, okay.
Of him. He was, I remember.
You know that joke, two Jewish guys walk by the Catholic Church, and it says, convert to Catholicism, we'll give you $1,000. And they go, well, we can't go in at the same time. You don't know this joke? We can't go in at the same time. It would be too obvious. So you go in first, and then you come out, and I'll go in like a half hour later. They go, okay. So the one Jewish guy goes in. He's in there for like 3 hours, and he comes out, and his friend goes, did you get the money? And his buddy goes, is that all you people ever think about?
Very funny.
Yeah, Stu Smiley didn't get HBO.
That's funny.
But I remember literally, it was like, yeah, like Yosemite Sam, like we're shooting fireworks and guns, and all of a sudden he goes, he doesn't get HBO, and then you just hear, you hear like 14 people doing donuts on
But
PCH.
it's funny, I remember being at a fight at his house, and he had a little, and he just about, the fight is just about to begin, and we go inside, and he had this little TV. And somebody actually went out and bought him a new TV and came back. Bought him a new TV.
Trancas Market. Go up to fucking Broad Beach, steal me a TV.
We were roommates in college.
Mm-hmm.
He's working for American University.
Shout out to American U. What's
American. The
home of Dennis Miller's first HBO special, Mr. Miller Goes to Washington.
I never knew that.
In D.C.?
I saw Springsteen in the gym, in the school gym. First time.
Hey, today I'm
playing a gymnasium. It's amazing. Playing a
Bison back today. My old man when I was growing up. I say.
He was the best.
So you meet Dave at the Comedy Store.
Comedy Store. Smiley's working as a manager for a management company, and Letterman is his client.
Was Dave as funny as everybody says?
Yes.
He was.
As a stand-up?
Yeah.
Smart.
Because it's the history.
Let's put it this way. Leno was a far better stand-up.
Because the book on Dave was like, he was incredible. He was the most incredible guy you've ever seen. And they say the same thing about Leno. But time isn't kind to comics. It's not like when you watch Dog Day Afternoon and it's still that.
It's still Pacino.
when you watch old Leno and Letterman, you go, these were even old Hackett,
Nah, old Hackett's still great. Old Hackett's still...
Old Carlin's great.
Old
Weatherman.
Hackett. Old Hackett. No. But 70s Hackett, the greatest. They were putting them up on YouTube a couple of months ago. I kept getting links to these. And
to be in Nagasaki where the women chew the bucky and the men say, woo, wacky woo. Bob Martin, are you going to finish that? So you meet Dave, and Dave, what? He gets a show?
He gets a morning. We hit it off. He gets a show in the morning. Remember, he had a show that was on at 10 o'clock in the morning. And Smiley used to come up to my office with Jack Rollins, who was a very famous manager and, was really Letterman's mentor at the time. And I was working on the Tomorrow Show with Tom Snyder. And they would come up to my office at NBC and watch the run-throughs on the closed circuit in my office. And I would say, this sucks. This is good. This is not good. Why are they doing this? Why does the set look like that? Which I can't help myself. And they were looking for a new producer for the morning show because the old producer was a game show producer and nobody liked him, And they offered me a job. I was 26 years old. And they offered me to run the show. And like an asshole, I had a girlfriend who was working on the show as a talent booker. And she said to me, I can't work for you. You can't be my boss. You can't take that job.
Honey,
26 years old.
Suck it, honey. Hey, I'm the boss of your fucking twat, you ever.
Didn't have the balls then. Didn't have the balls.
Dice did.
26 years old, and I said, I got to pass on this job.
Really?
I didn't take the job. So he hires Barry Sand, who was a producer of the show before me. And
I wish it was Barry Sanders.
Captain Barry Sanders. That would be funny. Barry Sanders producing the Letterman show.
We can't get the rundown. Barry's just running around with it. Nobody can catch him.
Tackle him.
Good luck.
So he starts the late night show. So the morning show gets canceled. He starts his late night show, and I get a call, and he goes, I can't give you the number 1 job, but I'll give you the number 2 job, and come to work for me. And I did.
How long went by before you had the number 1 job?
5 years. 4.5 years.
Was there politicking involved, or did you know? Really?
There was politicking involved.
It wasn't a situation of you knowing if you just waited around, you'd get it.
No. I had to leave. I took a leave of absence to do a show. I took a leave of absence from the Letterman show for, I don't know.
Let alone
6 weeks, 8 weeks or so, and I produced another show.
And then when you came,
which I won't mention.
When you came back, they were like, things weren't the same when Bob wasn't here.
I came back and I said, I can't come back, as number 2. I got to produce the show, and you got a producer. And Letterman said, well, we don't have to.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Were you there? You were there during all the late night wars that became super famous.
Oh, the greatest.
Really?
Oh, the most fun ever. What could be more fun than that?
Being a spectator, because you weren't Dave or Jay.
No, you're absolutely right. I don't. No, to be a spectator. No, to be an active participant. I mean, I wasn't the manager of the team, but I played a big position. I mean, I was in. Let's put it this way. I was in the midst of it. Peter LaSalle and I were, we were fighting it every day, between the NBC executives and then the press and then the CBS executives. Then, dealing with the talent, it was such intrigue. It was wild. It was the wildest time. We'd get in the morning and, look who turned. This one turned against us. This one's on our side. This one's for Leno. It was every day just strategizing who our allies were, who, it was the greatest. It
was one of these situations that, was it just assumed? It was always just assumed that Dave was going to take over for Johnny?
I don't think it was assumed, and I think that was...
It was assumed by somebody, otherwise
let's put it this way.
Why am I yelling? Sorry.
Letterman was always, I'll do a great show, that's all I could do. I'm not going to do anything else to politic for that job. Johnny Carson was his idol, his best friend. His best friend, but he worshipped the guy,
Jay politicked.
Jay's a politician. Yeah. Still is, Jay visited affiliates. Jay made calls to station managers.
Was Dave one of the guest
I'll never forget when Jay was on the cover of, I think it was Time magazine or Newsweek, one of the two. And Jay autographed copies for every station manager and every program director, 200 stations of NBC's. Sat and autographed personalized
Those are the days
copies.
where stations in the affiliates had it mattered.
Yeah.
Now, like a network like Les Moonves doesn't give a shit what the station.
Yeah,
manager
no, he does. I mean, yeah, they
not in
still
the big,
do.
Really?
Yeah, they still do. I think they still do. You know, I mean, with retransmission and satellite and all that
I don't
crap,
know what the fuck
it's
you're
different.
talking
I
about.
don't either. Honestly, I'm so full of shit. So full of it. None of this is true. Nothing I'm telling you. I never met Frank Sinatra. Where would I meet Frank Sinatra?
At a wig shop.
Yeah, exactly right.
So Jay Leno, so Dave was a guest host, Jay was a guest host, Joan Rivers was a guest host, Arsenio was a guest host, Gary Shandling was a guest host,
Yep.
and David Brenner was a guest host.
Brennan guest hosted a lot.
And so when I had Leno on this podcast, he said that he got a call from, I think it was Shandling's people, and they said, we're all going to do favored nations to guest host. $25,000 a shot. Do you know this story?
No.
And Jay goes, well, I think that's great. And they go, yeah, we all work as a team. Joan, me, everybody, we're all going to do it for $25,000 and that's it. We all make the same, okay? And Jay goes, I think that's terrific that you're doing that, but I think you need to know that I've been doing it for $505. I've been doing it for scale, and I'm not going to be a part of your favorite nations. And they said, all right, we're moving on without you, man. And then Leno looks at me during the interview and he goes, now, who do you think got the job? The guy that put his foot down for $25,000, or the guy that I did it for? He said, I did it for $500. This is the Tonight Show, and I'm doing it for like what a tailor makes.
He was great at it. Jay's great at that.
Do you think he would have gotten the job had he been a part of the favored nations? Probably.
Yeah, I do. But keep in mind, he also got the permanent guest host before he got the host. Remember, they did away with all that shit. And he was the permanent guest host. Sure, $500 a pop. Why not make him the permanent guest host?
Yeah, right. If you're the guy that really makes the decisions, and who was the guy?
Brandon Tartikoff.
And if you're the guy that makes the decision,
Bob Wright. I'm sorry, Bob Wright was the head of the network at the time.
Ahead of GE eventually, right?
Yeah.
What?
No. He never ran GE. He always at NBC. He went to GE.
NBC. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Jack
I'm
Welch was. Yeah.
Jack Welch. Sorry. Yeah. What would you think, Bob Wright, if you had to chalk up one mitigating factor that is the number one most important thing for somebody to take over this job? What would it be? Mass appeal, I guess.
Obviously, it wasn't just talent. So, I think Letterman was under the impression that it just took talent. Do the best show and be the best guy out there,
which you think was the most talented of the group?
Well, Letterman.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
More than Shandling?
Yeah.
Okay.
Letterman was born to host a show. I mean, Shandling is a brilliant comic, but
he always has this vibe of I could take it or leave it.
Yeah. He always leaves them wanting more. He's always, he knows how to do it in moderation. He doesn't blow his load. That's what's great about Letterman. So
then Leno, I'm trying to get a super truncated version.
So Leno gets politics. He works, GE. He works everybody. He does anything that they want him to do.
He hides in a closet in a boardroom to overhear what's being said at meetings.
Right.
That's true.
So he says.
Oh, Leno says it.
Leno says it. Leno admits it. Nobody, I don't think anybody else knew it, honestly.
So they go, we're going to have this big meeting and discuss the future of the franchise, and he knows when the meeting is, and an hour out goes and hides like a fucking closet.
It's the greatest.
And then gets all the inside dirt and uses.
What I'm saying? If you had the ability, I'd do it, wouldn't you? Who wouldn't? It's human nature. Who the fuck wouldn't do that?
Everybody wants to be invisible.
Yeah.
He got to be invisible one day.
He got to be invisible, exactly
and you're
right.
Helen Kushner.
Hey, you know something? For some reason, there's a whole different judgment scale when it comes to Jay Leno. Jay Leno hides in a closet. He's a freak. Jay Leno goes back to get the Tonight Show. He's vicious. He's evil. I mean, anybody.
How else you get the job?
You lose a job. You go to another job that's unsuccessful, and your old boss says, "Come back." Fuck, if David Letterman said to me, "Come back," I'd come back in a second.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah, of course I would.
Why did you leave in the first place?
I got fired.
By Dave?
Yeah.
Why?
It was my time. I was getting restless. I was getting restless. You
were getting restless.
Well, I was getting restless, and the company was doing other things, and they started working on other shows and developed Everybody Loves Raymond, and a bunch of shows at HBO, and I was paying a lot more attention to that, And, then
So
politics.
Dave vibes out your restlessness and fires you?
Pretty much.
But if you're the number one guy, you would think you would have to do something wrong.
There's politics also. There was a political thing.
And who took your place?
Rob Burnett. Weasel.
I always think it's Rob Bartlett, and I get excited, like, oh, good for him. Every time I hear Rob Burnett's name, I go, oh no, not Rob. Yeah, he's on Imus all the time.
Is that?
And he's on Broadway.
He's a funny fucking guy.
So funny. And he's always on Broadway.
I always confuse him with who's the guy that did Defending the Caveman.
Oh,
What's that guy?
It's horrible. Becker?